time for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning with Arise News analyst Dr. Constance Ikoko, looking gorgeous in blue this morning.
Oh, thank you. You're looking good too. A very good morning to you, Nkechi.
Good morning.
And Andy, of course, in blue too.
I didn't get the memo.
No, you did not. Sorry for you. All right, to look at the headlines with us this morning, we have Eniola Akinkotu. He is the Chief International Correspondent of the Africa Report. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with this day newspaper. Cardoso showcases 1 year achievements, commits $1 billion remittance target. At editors' conference, Tinubu says Nigeria's economic gradually rebounding. He lists gains of its economic reforms and others. Manufacturers set up power development company. That's an interesting one. We've had grid collapse. Recently, I guess they're looking for alternative steady power supply. Makinde, let's fix PDP to fix Nigeria. Obaseki, EFCC may pick me up next week, insists he has nothing to hide. The governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, was speaking at the inauguration of the People's Democratic Party Elite Research and Intelligence Arm. He said PDP's problem started in 2015 due to disagreement between stakeholders. He wants the party to reconcile. While Seyi Makinde is right, then President Goodluck Jonathan's decision to contest for a second term after completing late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua's tenure broke the party. A lot of big wigs left the party and it has not recovered since then. But at this point, this is not what Nigerians want to hear. All the parties are struggling and they just want them to get it right. Eniola.
You're right about that, Doctor. I mean, look at the crisis in all the major opposition parties. In the PDP, Labour Party, which has two factions, and NMPP, where I think they there's a faction too that's trying to push Kwankwaso out as well. And so it seems as if, if these guys don't get their acts together, not only will Tinubu get a second term in 2027, they will also hand over to an APC person in 2031. That's if the opposition are not willing to come together. So you're very, very right on that. But I really don't, what Makinde was saying at that event yesterday, talking about building the party, and then they actually inaugurated some sort of institute there. I mean, without any trying to throw shade at him, you know that Nigerian political parties, a lot of the politicians there always defect. It won't be out of place tomorrow if Makinde, who commissioned this particular project, defects tomorrow as well. So, it's just funny. Look at the US now, where Trump just won. If it was Nigeria, you have seen a lot of people defecting already to the Republican Party. So we have a long way to go.
Okay, go on, Nkechi.
Yeah, I just wanted to correct me if I'm wrong. I think Seyi Makinde was one of the five integrity governors that poured sand, so to say, in PDP's Gary during this last election. So this coming from him is really ironic.
He is. They move to wherever it suits at the time.
Well, the interesting thing about this is what Saraki said is poignant. Saraki said, we need a stable party.
I mean, former governor of Kwara State.
Kwara State. We need from our speaker, so we need a stable party to aspire for any leadership. He couldn't have put it right.
Right.
Then Makinde on his side said what they will offer is not renewed trouble. Because politicians, what is calling this, what is going on in Nigeria, he calls it renewed trouble.
Right.
And that PDP can give hope to Nigeria, but then that depends on if they put their house in order. For as long as we know, their house as at today is in tatters.
And quickly, let's also look at this there again with regard to outgoing governor of Edo State Government Obaseki. He says he's sure that EFCC will pick him up. He has nothing to hide. I think it's normal to scrutinize those books once the immunity is over. They're out of government. And your quick thought on that?
Well, if he has nothing to hide, I mean, if his hands are clean, then he has nothing to fear at all. But of course, we know the sort of politics we play in this part of the world. Obaseki was one of Tinubu's biggest critics. He launched the Don't Be Lagos campaign some years back, and he tactically prevented a lot of the APC state lawmakers from being inaugurated in the Edo State House of Assembly. And so, they say his cup is full, that he has committed many sins against them. And because of the style of politics we play here, it won't be surprising to see him getting picked up immediately. He's kicked out immediately. His tenure ends. Okay,
we'll see how that goes. The Guardian this morning. Lack of accountability stifling fiscal processes. FRC wants FG 28 Gencos at loggerheads over 2.5 trillion naira debt amid worsening grid collapse. Military confirms new terrorist group in Northwest Africa accounts for 65% of global HIV burden. Then Nigerians in diaspora create new demand, income for teachers. According to this report, technology is playing a huge role with people taking advantage of online tutorials, private gigs, lessons, and making more than twice their salaries in some cases. And for those whose clientele is made up of Nigerians in diaspora, the financial rewards are even higher. I mean, fantastic news, Eniola, isn't it?
Yes, it is. This is one of the advantages of Nigeria's devalued currency, where minimum wage jobs abroad, you have a lot of Nigerians doing it here just from the comfort of their homes. And these are some of the people that the presidential tax committee are also targeting, because a lot of these people too do not pay taxes. So it's good at least there's some sort of buffer, that helps people in this the economy at the moment.
I'm aware that some of those Nigerians offer language classes, Igbo classes, Yoruba classes for kids that live abroad. And in fact, some of the parents are so proud that their children speak their languages, while here in Nigeria, some middle-class parents are trying to prevent their children from speaking their language because of so-called accent, and then they want to be more English than the English, Ndi.
Well, I can confess that
your children don't speak
fell
Igbo.
into that trap.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
but particularly because I was afraid. Because
Of what?
I was afraid, not because I didn't want them to speak their language, but because you see graduates finding it too hard to string sentences together.
But you speak your local language and speak English at the same time. So why would that be of concern?
I'm coming. Yeah, I wouldn't want them to get their tenses wrong.
Oh, God.
Then later in life, I realized, but these kids are Igbo, even though they're girls they will marry. These kids are Igbo, so they should speak Igbo. So I started doing that. But you see, that's why they say mother tongue, because their mother wasn't also speaking
to them.
Igbo. So it was difficult.
Yes.
So sometimes when I speak to my second daughter, I said, Daddy, can you say that in English?
So, but is their mother Igbo? She's not.
Not Igbo.
Okay. Well, anyway,
so
the point is that,
But it's important.
Right.
Because you should... I was watching a video where I saw some UK-bred girls striving to speak Yoruba.
Yes.
And they were, one by one, they were speaking, and it's quite interesting. It's lovely.
I mean, if your children do not speak your language, who will be the custodians of the future?
Exactly.
I mean, Nkechi, what do you think about that?
I think it's important, and I think it's even more important that people in diaspora can then now bridge that gap. So if themselves can't even speak the language, you have teachers online helping to teach their kids. And I think for decades and decades, teachers around the world, not even just Nigerian teachers, have been told that, look, your reward is awaiting you in heaven. But now they are grabbing that heavenly reward online. Yeah. So this just also plays in the fact of the importance of technology and how people are including technology in different sectors of the world.
Let's stay on The Guardian, because there is another story there that is of concern and quite unsettling. It talks about the alarming rate of child sexual abuse, according to a research by Lagos State University. This research was conducted in 12 states across rural and urban centers. It's probably a warning to parents to be aware of what is going on and to guard their children, Eniola.
Yeah, it's saddening what's going on. At least, finally, we have local universities doing this sort of research. It's very rare to see such in Nigeria. But how many states have actually, passed laws that protect children? If you look at it very, very critically, there are not that many. And then you look at Lagos State, for instance. Lagos has done very well in that regard, and they do free, what's it called? They do free consultation for victims. They help them all the way if they want to go to court and everything. The state funds everything, and they do rehabilitation for victims too. You don't have a lot of states doing that. So as much as you have these statistics being churned out, what is being done to protect victims?
All right, so there has to be a deliberate effort by the authorities to make sure that there are consequences. Daily Trust this morning.
Just before you go to Daily Trust, that's where what interested me really was the place it said, government to design and implement child protection law to prevent childhood sexual abuse in community. Because one thing to discover a problem, it's another thing to find solutions for the problem.
But I think beyond the government, we also have that sort of societal issue, that cloak of silence where victims, especially children, are often silenced by fear of stigma, shame, even family pressure. And so most of these cases also involve perpetrators that the children know. Community leaders, relatives, neighbors, trusted people around them. So beyond the government, we have that cultural, silence cloak.
Now that you've said that, I remember always telling my girls when they were growing up, even if an uncle touches you or you don't like, now don't be rude, be firm and bold, speak up. I told them while they were growing up, I made sure I instilled that discipline in them, because it's people who are quite close that perpetrate this evil.
Very key. Let's look at
in certain parts of the world too, like the United States too, when you have you've been able to arrest such perpetrators, they're forced to register as sex offenders so that everyone knows the kind of people that they are. I think Ekiti introduced that sort of thing, and there may be Lagos, but besides that, you don't really have any states in Nigeria doing that.
So we need to have more efforts in that regard. Daily Trust. Nigerians doubt CNG vehicle safety after Malaysia ban. We know that the Malaysian government is phasing out the use of natural gas vehicles by 2025. But before this, there have been concerns about safety. We've had some explosions in Nigeria. The NGV tanks have a safe usage lifespan of approximately 15 years. And if they are not replaced, they become unsafe. Perhaps this needs to be studied further, and we would need to hear the results of that study, not only by the government, but maybe in investigation by independent bodies as well, so that we know what we're dealing with, Eniola.
This whole CNG initiative has not been well embraced by the Nigerian public. First of all, it came in as was like an afterthought after you had removed petrol subsidy and you saw how everything was going up, and then later on they announced that, okay, they're going to roll out CNG program. In Abuja alone, how many refueling stations do you really have? I don't think they're up to 4, at least the last time I checked. And you still have very, very low investments in CNG. And a lot of people are not happy. They are not, they are not comfortable with the safety of carrying tanks around. Most parts of the world are actually phasing CNG out. The very few countries that have actually embraced it. Everyone is going electric now. But unfortunately, because of the power situation in Nigeria, it's quite difficult to actually even embrace that. That is on the one hand. Secondly is that people have not really seen those in leadership embrace CNG. You remember that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the President Buhari at the time came out with the vice president where they took vaccine shots on live TV, trying to encourage people that this thing is safe. But look at it, how many of our elected officials in this country actually using CNG vehicles? The president is most likely is not even using one. Let's be very factual about it. And so there's still this deep mistrust about it.
Okay, Daily Trust, how Lakurawa members are terrorizing us, according to Sokoto residents. So this is a sect that they say come from Libya, Mali, and Niger Republic, and They are fighting against bandits, but also they've become a government within government because they're imposing fines, they're imposing religious laws, and their Sokoto residents are saying this is not good for them. And then to the international headlines, Daily Graphic, demonstrate true statesmanship, Afenyo Makin tells Speaker, Parliament adjourns again, government business still hangs. The adjournment, the second in 3 weeks, followed the absence of members of the New Patriotic Party caucus in the parliament. Their decision to stay away, they explained later, was because the National Democratic Congress caucus, who are supposed to be in the minority, had occupied the right side of the speaker, reserved for the majority. I mean, Nkechi, can you imagine? This is getting out of hand and is affecting the business of government in Ghana. They probably need to put their political differences aside.
It really is, and we spoke about this yesterday when the Chief Justice was saying, look, we're on the brink of a constitutional crisis. If you cannot get your act together, you keep adjourning, timelines are being delayed. I think someone from the NDC was saying, look, if we continue like this, we're going to even end up then delaying payment of salary. And this cannot even come as exactly at a worse time. They are having the elections in barely a month, just next month, December 7th or December 4th. So this stalemate could not come at a worse time. Ghana, which I think often is seen as sort of West Africa's beacon of democracy and stability, having this sort of tussle at this time, they just need to get their act together.
Right. Citizen, most crisis hits South African trade. Violent protests in nearby Mozambique is affecting South Africa. Trucks are stationary at the border, and the freight industry has lost 5 billion rand, affecting import and export. For context, residents in Mozambique took to the streets accusing the ruling party, Frelimo, of rigging the votes in national elections held last month. Always political crisis in Africa, which speaks to the decline of true democracy. It again raises the question of whether Western-style democracy is suited to the continent. Africans perhaps must answer these major political questions someday.
Well, the point is, the point that has been raised over time is not really the system, but the players of the system. When you have people who are not service-oriented, who are not thinking about what they can give, but rather thinking about what they can take, their leadership is based on selfishness, that's why you have these problems. Because if you're thinking about service to the community, to the nation, to the people, you will put the nation and the people first. I mean, talking about the CNG that we just discussed a while ago, why wasn't this? Everything is shrouded. There's a trust deficit. Why wasn't this thought of at the beginning, before coming into power? It speaks also of total planlessness.
Right.
And now the issue is being raised. I did ask one question then when I sit in boots. I said, why would you put things in boots?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And it takes up the space. Anyola, you were laughing. Well, let's move on to the Times. The Times, Trump eyes quick start with tariffs and tax cuts. Advisors are drawing up plans for first 100 days. The president-elect wants to cut taxes and protect American companies from foreign competition as part of the long-held ambition to reverse the era of globalization. Yes, it's going to happen. An attack and contempt for globalization is already happening in Europe, with general sentiments expressed by the populace, although some of their leaders do not agree. But it's what it is, Anyola. The first time in office, it was chaotic for Trump. It looks like this time around, he doesn't want to have a repeat.
Oh, well, I mean, as I say, once bitten, twice shy. And he's already gone quickly. He's appointed Susan Wiles already as his chief of staff. And, of course, we already know what a Trump cabinet is going to look like. Right. Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be there, definitely. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. most likely is going to be Secretary of Health. So, he's already putting his cabinet together even though it's just he's been president-elect for 3 days. And shows
he did
seriousness.
That the first time.
Yeah, he did.
The turnover of staff.
But let me just say one thing. Yeah, he says he wants to cut taxes, and then at the same time, he wants to bring down the cost of groceries, bring down the cost of goods and all that. Look, it's going to be very difficult for the US to compete with countries like China.
Right.
Because of labor problems.
Labor.
Labor is too expensive in America.
Okay.
So, Dave Chappelle, the comedian, was saying that, look, he doesn't even pray for such jobs to come to America, that if iPhones were being manufactured in America, he would most likely be paying $9,000 for
Yes.
it.
Okay.
You know, so I really don't know how, you know, they're going to do it, because, see, the
All right.
way the world has changed,
Okay.
you know, I don't see how some of his plans are going to be implemented.
Okay,
Or some
so
of
quickly, yeah.
Concepts of a plan.
Right. Quickly,
because Harry
Financial
said-
Times. Biden tells America to lower the political heat. What I want to focus on that is that interesting photo on the front page right there. That's a photo of the Trump family, and Elon Musk is there also. That's you know, his political investment is or has paid off. You know, financially his wealth has increased, and now he's in the Trump family photo. Nkechi, that's major, isn't it?
It's major, and he deserves to be in Trump's family photo. He puts his money where his mouth is. I don't know anyone that campaigned for Donald Trump as much as Elon Musk, so I'm not surprised that he's there.
He knew what he was doing.
Well, anyway, I think that's all the time we have this morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Thank you, Eniola Akinkotu, the Chief International Correspondent for the Africa Report. That's all we have here on Daybreak.